drive, dickhead.
Hello and welcome to the Grumpy Old Man Wrestling Podcast here on the RGC Multimedia channel. Rick Crab here with the Cult of Multiple Personalities. CF Punk ass Chris Filito.
Hello.
And this is a show where we are thankful that there are other companies with other choices, with other wrestling cards and TV tapings near our hometown, because the one that Vince brought to our hometown was basically backriver grade shit, okay? It was horrible. And, Chris, I'll get your comments later, but, folks, we're going to introduce right now a new segment to our show. We're going to take turns each episode from here on out, where we will have a rant of our own, uninterrupted. We're just going to go off, and it doesn't have to be a rant, it could be just about, we could be talking specifically about a card. But anyway, this segment will be called Get Off My Lawn. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to do the first one, and I'll give you the next one for the next episode, Chris. But we're going to talk. After our previous taping, I had the fortunate opportunity to go to a television taping, and the television taping was several matches, several compelling characters and storylines, and several hours of action. That was in Philadelphia for Major League Wrestling, not in my hometown in Baltimore for Friday Night SmackDown and the draft, night one of the draft. Yeah, it was a draft, alright. It was a draft of fucking hot air is what that was. First of all, I've seen a lot of wrestling shows here locally and in that building, good and bad. There haven't been many, but there have been several times where one of the world championships, either in WWE or WCW/NWA, have changed hands. There have been a lot of iconic moments of history for the WWE. Roddy Piper destroyed the flower shop in that building. Mm-hmm. Had the Slammies where Jimmy Hart got stamped with Terry Funk's ink pad branding iron by the Junkyard Dog.
I remember that.
But then I've seen some really bad wrestling shows in this town. There was an independent show by the late Dennis Carluzzo's version of the NWA. God rest his soul, especially for the crap that he put out. They had a card where the highlight, Chris, was a wrestler who came out to a gimmick. He was a man about our age wearing Elmo footy pajamas, handing candy out to the crowd, having his mother as his manager, coming from Arkham Asylum, coming out to the music of They're Coming to Take Me Away, and calling himself Corky the Retard.
Jesus Christ.
That was the highlight of that show. And that was not as bad as what happened Friday night in SmackDown on Fox.
And he had half the budget.
Right. Let me finish. It's supposed to be uninterrupted, remember? I went to another card, an local independent, called EWA. Went with a friend of mine named Andy, okay? And they didn't have anyone of note, but, I mean, they were young kids starting out in the business. It was a good time. It was one of those shows, any wrestling fan knows about this. One of those you have to kind of almost make your own fun, which is basically being an obnoxious jerk and do stupid chants and stuff. And that's kind of what we did. The highlight of it was where we had, like, a few rows in front of us were like these 10-year-old kids. They were like saying, give him the elbow, give him the elbow, give him the drop kick, give him the drop kick, give him a pile driver, give him a pile driver. And my friend at the show yelled, teabag him. And then the kids were like, yeah, teabag him. So the highlight was a friend of mine corrupting these 10-year-old kids and telling wrestlers to teabag them, and then even asking themselves, what's a teabag? You know, so that was not as bad as Friday Night SmackDown. What are my biggest gripes with this? I'll tell you what is not my biggest gripe with this. The wrestlers there. They have a talented roster. They had an even bigger talented roster. Many notables have gone to AEW and other companies recently, as many people have known. But I'm going to give you a list of names, Chris, and I'm going to tell you what they all had in common. Roman Reigns, the Usos, Brock Lesnar, Becky Lynch, Seth Rollins, Edge. What did they all have? Oh, Charlotte Flair. What did they all have in common? None of them fucking wrestled in a wrestling program. Chris, you and I were texting each other back and forth watching this piece of shit. And it came to the point where the show started at 8 o'clock. And it was 9:15 when the first actual match started. You had the schmoz, with Heyman and Roman Reigns and the Usos, and then Brock Lesnar coming out. Had a little bit of a scuffle. And you had the first night of the draft results. Okay, whatever. Then you had Edge actually wanting a match, calling out Seth Rollins, but no, instead we got a video of Seth Rollins kicking back and drinking Edge's orange juice. And sitting in front of their fireplace. Which, I'll give Edge props. He has a nice house. That really is his house. But you have all this talent. And you and I were talking off the air. The longest match that was on there was 15 minutes. That might have been the main event, the women's match. Which was a good match. And the only other match that was fairly decent was that 8-man tag with the New Day and the Private Party and all that. That being said, you had really 3 matches. Officially it was 4 matches, but one was kind of just boiled whatever. That was hard. I mean, I hope for the sake of the people that went there were actual dark matches where they got to see some actual wrestling. I'm not so sure that was the case. Card subject to change. They advertised that there was going to be a title match between Roman Reigns and Drew McIntyre, which, by the way, thank you WWE for spoiling draft results a month in advance so you can sell tickets to that piece of shit show. You have all that, and once again, then you have the draft itself. You have rules of, okay, now you have 2 women's champions on the same brand. We don't know, this is taped before the following episode of Raw, which will be night 2 of the draft, and they may do something with Becky Lynch. We don't know, we'll find out. But you have rules of, okay, now they can only wrestle in this brand, they have to go to the other brand. They're breaking up the New Day again. And then you have Brock Lesnar saying, I can go wherever I want because I'm a free agent. Then you have Roman Reigns basically saying, make sure that the Usos get drafted to SmackDown. Why should they care? Why can't they go anywhere the hell they want? They have that stupid wild card rule, and that's the problem. They don't know what the rules are, and when they do know what they are, Vince will forget them anyway. And he has nothing but his yes men and his stupid kids. Actually, not all of his stupid kids. Shane doesn't want anything to do with the damn company anymore. They found out recently he's not with them anymore. He has his own business ventures. Good for him. Especially since that horrible angle between him and Braun Strowman. Whatever. Okay. Stupid, yeah. But, point is, though, WWE, this is the last time, Chris. They shit. It's bad enough they shit on all the fans, but then you shit on a town that for years you had superstar Billy Graham win the belt there. You've had a lot of angles there. You had Tuesday Night Titans, the weekly show that preceded Primetime Wrestling and then Raw here in the Baltimore area. That was in a studio. It was it Westward One Studios, I think?
I'm not sure.
It was somewhere in Owings Mills. I think right now it's a warehouse. I used to work right next to where that building was. But my point is, the creative direction for this company is just going to shit. And one more thing, Vince McMahon. The only thing wrestling-wise you had that you didn't have to change is what you changed the most, NXT. Yes, I know you have to go for the 18 to 49 demographics, but you had one thing. You should have modeled the other two brands off of NXT and not the other way around. So now you have these stupid storylines with weddings and, John Gargano looking at condoms in a bachelor party, and you have, Nickelodeon splash painting the damn arena and the new logo. And instead of Slipknot, you got, who the hell knows? You go from Slipknot to hip hop.
Rick Steiner.
And, and thank you. And you have those stupid names. Why can't you call Rick Steiner Rick Steiner? Rick Steiner's son, and let him use his name. But anyway, speaking of evil people from Connecticut, we're watching the Patriots and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers right now on news.
The colors.
Yeah. Yeah, that dumbass had it. Yeah, exactly. The stupid Robert Kraft, he had his fucking ring stolen by Putin before he went to the massage parlor. Fuck him. And fuck you, Vince McMahon, for taking something that I love. Your company is the reason I started watching wrestling. I'm ashamed to admit, I'm not, I didn't live far enough south or watch NWA or anything until after I started watching that. I watched, basically it's WWF, then Bill Apter and his wrestling magazines, and then I learned about the NWA and the AWA and everybody else after that. But I am so glad that Philadelphia, thank the Lord, they had Major League Wrestling. They are going to have AEW Dynamite in Temple University. They're going to have New Japan show that Chris and I are going to talk about shortly, or later on in the episode anyway. And you have alternatives, you have choices. Even in Baltimore, you have Ring of Honor. Even though I was talking to fans at the MLW show about that, they were saying they were sick of seeing the empty arena matches, which is a shame because Marty Bell and Allison Kay in my hometown, and I'm not allowed to see them on that. That is unacceptable.
I got news on that too.
So fuck you, Sinclair, and fuck you, Vince, okay? All of you, get the fuck off my lawn. Thank you.
Take a bow. Take a bow.
I'd rather drink a beer. Alright. Okay, so, but more serious commentary about
Friday
SmackDown,
night.
Yeah.
Oh, what hasn't been said? You pretty much covered it all, and again, what did I text you that night? I text you, I feel sorry for the people who actually paid to be there.
And you know what? If you're a regular wrestling fan, if you follow it, I don't feel sorry for them because you've known what you got into. But unfortunately, a lot of people, especially our age, they went to that show, they took their kids. Their kids wanted to see Roman Reigns. They wanted to see, the Bianca Copter. They wanted to,
buy merchandise.
Right, buy merchandise. Yeah, buy t-shirts, Rey Mysterio masks, whatever. Yeah. The Lily Dolls. Yeah, sure, exactly.
From what I heard, the Lily Dolls are really selling well, too.
Which doesn't mean anything to WWE because Fiend merch sold a lot, too.
Yeah. But I watched it, and what did I put on Facebook? Thank you for putting on one of the worst shows I ever saw in my life. Was I wrong? No.
No. Well, I'll admit, after I took a breath, I was originally thinking of not going off on this, but no, I owed it to the show, I owed it to my sanity and my love of wrestling. After going to a card that actually had some decent wrestling, and including some former WWE, NXT personnel there, and,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the MLW taping, which, folks, actually, I'm going to go into more detail on our next broadcast, because this show's being taped October 3rd. The MLW broadcast was October 2nd. October 7th, they are actually going to show 5 matches from the taping, including the match for the title versus title bout between Alexander Hammerstone and Jacob Fatu of Contra.
Yeah.
And
oh, you won't say anything.
Right.
Except for what you want to talk about the injuries or later or what?
Oh yes. There is one thing we want to talk about. Yes, one of the young lady's name who escapes me.
Nicole Savoy.
Nicole Savoy. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Former Shiver champion.
Yeah, she sustained an injury against Holidead, and it got to the point where she won the match against Holidead, but I don't know what happened based on the actions from the referees. I could not see because my vantage point was a little obstructed view, and couldn't tell if it was like a neck injury or something like that. I was under the impression of some type of head injury because you even saw the referees doing the cross arms, saying, "Okay, she's really hurt. Get out here," kind of thing. And literally, my seats were fairly similar to the ones you and I had when we went to MLW last time, except I actually picked an aisle seat, so I can try to get some good pictures of the entrances coming in and out.
That easy in and out to get food and drink or whatever.
Right. Well, usually, when they brought some props through, they actually brought the stretcher. They stretched her past me. They brought the stretcher past me, took her to the ambulance, and there was an ambulance, and you even got to see in the lobby the ambulance lights and everything else. La
Parka tweeted that she had a broken rib.
Right.
But she tweeted, as of today with this taping, that she has a bruised sternum.
And to La Parka's defense, he's not a doctor, but it's kind of around the same area, so it looks like,
And apparently TJP got hurt too.
Right. I'm not 100% sure how that happened unless he tweaked something maybe like on a jump or something.
And he's supposed to be at that upcoming New Japan show too, teaming up with Jay White.
Yeah. And also Hammerstone apparently was injured too, and I was not aware of this because
his foot was in a splint.
Yeah. Well, he kind of, especially since he took some bumps. He had some really sick suplexes. Fatu did his typical 360 splash. He gave him like 4 of them.
Damn.
There's one, I think he belly to back suplexed Hammerstone into a table. And it looked like, it was dead, but that was when Hammerstone started hulking up, brother. And we'll go into that next week.
Yeah, we'll go into
next episode.
Now, going back to that disaster that was Friday night.
Yes.
The home invasion. Instead of, in a real world situation, instead of calling your wife, wouldn't you be calling the cops?
Well, it was funny. You heard who else he was calling. 2
guys by their real names.
Yeah.
FTR.
Which I don't understand why he was referring to those 2, but
he could have helped train them,
plus they're down in Florida, so I guess that was the joke.
And they're probably all buddies. They're all buddies, you know that.
Right.
But seeing him in the house, I was like, and don't go. It looked like every bad horror film. Don't go in the house. Steph's there.
Yeah.
I was like, oh God, Jesus Christ! I was like, I just wanted to throw my TV out the window.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, I'm a lifelong fan. This is what brought me in.
Right.
Until the NWA, I discovered that in '85. Then I watched AWA when they did the joint shows here in Baltimore.
And I didn't go to any of their shows, but I remember those of Pro Wrestling USA. I remember my experience with the AWA is they showed them a little bit on other syndicated TV here and then on ESPN. Mm-hmm. I probably saw them more in there than anything.
Until the end when they did those empty arena shows.
Right.
Then WCW. Then we had the Revolution in the 90s, which that little bingo hall again in Philadelphia that kind of revigorated us.
Yeah, it did. Because, there was a period I stopped going to wrestling, and then I was curious about this one show near where I lived at the time, and it was only because Jake the Snake Roberts was supposed to be there, who I read in a magazine he had his head shaved. I wanted to see what he looked like with his head shaved.
You called him Jake Copperhead.
Right. But he actually didn't make it to that card, and I think he was substituted for either Timmy Snuka or Tim Neidhart, I forget, but it was like it might have been Snuka because I remember this was at Bingo Bill's, and I remember when he jumped on the top turnbuckle, I thought when he was going to give his splash, I thought he was going to hit his head on the ceiling.
I remember how low that ceiling was, yeah.
Yeah.
But I've seen some shitty local cards too. We've been to MCW, we've been to MEWF, which didn't have the best of cards back then.
No.
Especially that cage match. You said you could slingshot suplex somebody off the cage.
Right.
What the hell? But
this is our favorite Baltimore game, so gunshots or fireworks, you know.
Yeah. But I have no words. I mean, when you said about Shane, I think he had a falling out with his dad again because I think. What is the message I sent you from our mutual friend Will? Everybody's caught in Vince McMahon's dementia hellscape.
Well, and that's the worst part of it. And
he's 80, almost 80, and I think he has it.
Yeah, and the wrestlers can't say anything about it. They're probably afraid to.
And the Yes-Men are afraid to say something.
Yeah, they all are. And the whole thing is, it's like, I mean, if it was like how it was 3 years ago when there weren't any real competition, that's one thing. But when you have AEW breathing down their neck.
Breathing down their neck, breaking in through the front door.
Yeah. Taking some of their people that they didn't want, Vince even bragging about it, say, well, maybe we can help them out. Basically saying, you know...
That message I sent you.
They basically saying, you know, they were, you know, it's salary dump for us, addition and subtraction with those two.
Okay. Let's see if I find that. The ticket sales thing I sent you.
Right. This is for the show in Long Island.
Long Island, yeah, I gotta find it.
The two shows in Long Island.
Keep on going, I'll find it.
Yeah, basically, they're being booked in the same arena in Long Island. It's on Belmont Park, where the New York Islanders now play.
New York Raw, and the Raw, it's going to be November 29th. They sold 38% of the tickets. December 8th, Dynamite's going to be there. They sold 75% of the tickets.
Right. Well,
that's telling. That's very telling.
And the fact... Oh, that was another thing about Friday night, though. They spent half of their card... It's one thing if they're going to promote the next Raw or the next week, but they're promoting a goddamn show in Saudi Arabia.
Which I even said this on my older show, that I will not watch any show, streaming or anything from Saudi Arabia. I will stay away from it. I'll just read results because I will stay away from it out of principle. And I feel sorry for the women. We're going to get a 3-way women's match there, and yeah, they're going to have to be covered up and wearing baggy T-shirts.
Yeah.
Not to sound sexist or anything, but it's because of the draconian laws in Saudi Arabia.
It's a backward culture, you know.
Very backwards.
Yeah, I mean, it's...
almost to the Stone Age.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and some of them will probably get stoned, if, you know, and we don't mean... And I don't mean 420 either.
No.
I mean, literally, like what Brian Jehovah stoned, you know.
Well, we know Sami Zayn's not going to be there because of his descent.
Right.
And when Alistair was there, they wouldn't even let him in because of the tattoo on his back.
Then Bryan Danielson also objected to that as well when he was with
again. I honestly think it's a combination of Vince being greedy and remember, he was an in-ring competitor in the 90s. Didn't he take headshots by chairs?
Yeah.
Do you think it's CTE?
I'm sure they didn't help.
No, they didn't help. And if he has any kind of mental condition, it exasperated it.
Well, there's another thing about Vince McMahon that may cause dementia, too. I had heard Jim Cornette talk about this, where they actually interviewed psychiatrists about this. One of the leading causes of dementia is lack of sleep.
And he's a workaholic.
Yeah, he always bragged about maybe sleeping like 2 or 3 hours a day.
He's going to drive himself to an early grave, and I hate to say
I
can't wait.
You say that, but I mean, he's like 85 years old now. I wouldn't say that's an early grave, but it might be an early grave for some of the wrestlers' careers.
Yeah. Yeah, and like we've been saying about Kevin Owens, he's been putting statistics about Mount Rushmore. He put a video up about his cat on either Instagram or Twitter just recently. He's not putting anything WWE up. I think he's looking for the outdoor.
I mean, yeah, and then if you're going to list Mount Rushmore as somewhere where the Bucks are...
They put him in the mid-card vortex of Baron Corbin.
Yeah.
Oh, excuse me. I won't even say that word.
Oh, yeah, Happy Corbin.
Yeah, and Madcap Moss.
Who is that? Yeah.
There's Riddick Moss. He was in Raw Underground.
Oh, exactly.
The ponytail dude.
Are you kidding?
I am not kidding you. And he was also a 24/7 champion. Remember, he went after R-Truth in, like a guard. R-Truth went after him while he was mowing his lawn or some shit, or running down the street.
And like another thing I said to you, I could be wrong on this. I have a feeling he is actually the gimmick that was meant for Adam Cole to
I think so too. Yeah, I think they're punishing Riddick Moss for Cole leaving.
Well, or like Jim Cornette said about Keith Lee. He said they're either punishing him or even worse, Vince likes him so much. So,
Bearcat. Shit. Yeah,
I know.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Well, at least with that, though, they said the Bearcat was more like a positive civil rights thing. It was honoring an African American wrestler named Bearcat. I forget his last name.
Yeah, I knew about that too. And the draft overall, the draft picks do not take effect until after the Saudi show.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize that. And that, okay, Vince, add that to my, get off my lawn for that too, you old fart. Jesus Christ.
And breaking up New Day. Again.
Well, again, it's like the Becky Lynch thing. We don't know what they're going to do for night.
Well, we don't know upcoming Raw if Charlotte's going to lose the title. And Becky and go after Becky.
I think what they'll do is they'll just do what New Day and Private Party did and just swap belts. Yeah,
well, it's if both champions are in the same brand. From what I heard...
Well, but if they bring... They might switch Becky over there. Might send Becky to Raw, though.
Well, from what...
Since the Bianca Copter, I think, is in Raw now,
Yeah,
right?
she's going over to Raw, and I wouldn't mind seeing her against Rhea. Wouldn't mind seeing her against Nikki.
Right.
Or even the killer that we wanted and we got now, Shayna Baszler.
Right. Or even, if we can get that poor girl off the milk carton in Tokyo somewhere, Asuka. We can get her
just
back.
celebrate her birthday.
Happy birthday, by the way, Asuka. 40 years
40 years young, yeah. And look, as phenomenal as she can be, yeah. Again, we don't know where Asuka is. We don't know if she's still on the roster. They did not mention her on the draft at all. We don't know.
Vince probably doesn't even know.
Vince doesn't know what day it is.
Yeah.
I wish Shane stayed because I think he had enough balls to go into Vince's face and say, hey, you're losing it. Right. I think that's why he left, because he had a confrontation. And Stephanie's is a chicken shit for not standing up to her father.
Right.
I hate to say that, but both her and her husband are chicken shits.
Yeah. That reminds me of something that we'll get to when we cover AEW on. Mm-hmm. Get your take on. But you have anything else to say about this shit?
Yeah, shit.
Yeah, exactly.
But Raw is from Nashville.
Yeah.
So we're going to have some sort of Music City theme, probably.
Well, they didn't have anything themed specifically for Baltimore.
No, because nobody was shot.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Nobody was shot or nobody got held up.
Yeah.
Yes, Baltimore's full of crime.
And according to Heyman, full of Baltimoreans, and I would agree.
I cheered when he said that. That was the best thing, was that backstage segment with Heyman, watching his facial expressions.
Oh, yeah.
And just seeing Heyman squirm.
And the crocodile tears, that was fun.
But what did you think when he said to the Usos? It says, if you don't get drafted to SmackDown, end him. End this.
Yeah, leave him for dead.
Leave him for dead. Like, he's the Samoan Godfather.
It's like it's the reverse of, you remember when Heyman had the Shield beat up at some announcer guy, I forget who it was.
Oh, yeah.
It's like the reverse of that, so.
If Heyman's contract is up, have him go somewhere else.
Well, I mean...
If he made his money, let him restart another promotion.
Well, I mean, if he's having fun there, stay there. But, I mean, I don't know.
Remember, he was head of Raw's creative, and he was responsible for Strowman and Lashley going through the Titantron and have Corey Graves say, holy shit, on the air.
Right.
Oh, and by the way, apparently the only person allowed to cuss on WWE programming is Bobby Lashley. Because he called Big E on this past pay-per-view, a chicken shit.
Yeah.
And I hear MVP on Raw saying bullshit.
All right.
Which the word shit is being used freely on AEW anyway.
Yeah.
And AEW NXT, the only bright spot
besides the colors,
was Raquel Gonzalez, who I found out is Braun Strowman's real life girlfriend. Defending against Frankie Monet, or AKA Taya Valkyrie. Good match, very good match. Until the run-in with Toxic Attraction. That's the name of the Mandy Rose faction. It looks like they're going to have Raquel feud with Mandy Rose.
Right.
And they had an NXT tag title match of Io and Zoe Stark. I forgot against who because they really don't know the tag teams there. My God, he's a humble lumpa.
Talking about they're showing Tom Brady hugging and kissing all Patriot security around Kraft. I mean, it was all done for the cameras. You phony motherfucker.
Yeah. I hope Putin had put poison in your drink.
As opposed to the actual real professional athletes we've been talking about on this show who don't have predetermined okay, whatever.
And you gotta remember, independent contractors. Which is a bunch of shit because remember he took away their Twitch and their Cameo and all of that. Which explained to me why Selena Vega resigned.
I think they tricked her. They thought they were. I mean, didn't she originally think that they were going to have her work with Malachi? Work together on a program, and then they wound up letting him go. It's like
here's the beauty part. They let loose her that, and they have her lose almost every fucking match.
Yeah.
And she's with Carmella. I mean, Dr. Doom. I mean, Carmella.
Right.
You want to talk about that mask?
Yeah, I wouldn't say Dr. Doom. I'd say it was more like Carmella Santo.
Yeah. She
looked like she was trying out for CMLL or AAA.
Yeah.
I'm surprised she didn't come out with Conan the other night, but anyway.
But, like I said, that's the only thing I can say. That and they're gearing up Tommaso against Steiner's son. Which... Tommaso's going to lose the title to Steiner's son. It's not a prediction. That's a spoiler.
They can't spoil anything in that fucking company.
They took something that I loved. I love the NXT. I love the style it was in. They killed it.
They killed it by booking it up against AEW. If they would have had,
they tried to own indie guys,
right?
That wasn't happening.
No.
They tried to outdo Flippity Flop guys.
Yeah.
Which wasn't happening.
Pretty much they did what AEW is doing now and doing successfully. They had a mix of people recognized from indies and their own homegrown crops.
And storytelling that made fucking sense.
And great matches.
Yes. And we'll get to... You want to talk about AEW? We want to talk about the Tony Khan story that broke?
Go ahead.
Tony, apparently a couple of days ago, as of this taping, Tony Khan took out all the creator control out of the EVP's hands. It means Cody, the Bucks, and Omega. Apparently, the only one that's been showing up at the meetings has been Cody. And from what I've been hearing, Cody's been easing out of everything. And Omega's been busy with the video game development. I don't know what Nick Jackson's doing, but Matt Jackson's doing the merchandise stuff with his wife.
Yeah.
But it looks like everything begins and ends creatively with Tony Khan. Do you think it's almost like a Vince McMahon dick move?
It's his money, so I don't begrudge him or Mr. Burns for doing that, per se. What I think may have happened is maybe he's been talking to Jim Cornette. He's been talking to some of his
He praised Cornette.
Right. He's been taking some of his advice. He actually solicited his advice before they actually had their first episode of Dynamite.
Well, the thing is, what's biting him in the ass, and they brought that up, was that Dark Order breakdown from a year and a half ago, which looked like shit.
Yeah.
And I think that's what that's in the back of Tony Khan's mind.
And the fact that they've had agents who have experience, and it's not
in wrestling, not Hollywood.
Well, and it's not just the wrestlers too. I don't know if you had seen about a month ago. They had an episode. They had AEW. They did a special video presentation of CM Punk's first appearance. And what they did, they went inside the camera truck and they actually they showed the guy saying, okay, camera 3, camera 2, go to camera 4, and found out that Jim Cornette said that guy was actually a former WWE person, so he knew how to produce television.
Underneath Kevin Dunn.
So they have Dean Malenko working with wrestlers. They probably have Jerry Lynn, Dustin. Arn is probably doing a bunch of stuff.
We'll talk about Arn in a little bit.
Yeah,
oh, Jesus Christ.
Oh, yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah.
But, as far as behind the scenes, they have a lot of wrestling. They have a lot of good wrestling minds with them now. And we're finally...
Wrestling minds, not Hollywood.
And they're actually starting to take over from the indie bullshit that AEW did when they started off. You're seeing less and less of Maka.
Get the fuck off your TV.
And, unfortunately, we're still seeing the Young Bucks and their bullshit. Unfortunately, we're still seeing Orange Cassidy, but at least Orange Cassidy has taken off with that, so I don't blame them for...
Yeah. He's a cash cow for the merchandise right now. So they're going to let him roll with that.
Right.
Because the gimmick works. The gimmick's over, not over with us, but over with maybe like younger fans and all that. Yeah. Again, it's that demographic. Mm-hmm. Do you want to get to the review? Dynamite.
Yes, go ahead.
What'd you think of the Adam Cole Jungle Boy match?
Excellent.
Jungle Boy is a star, if not a star in the making.
Right.
I thought it was an excellent match, and Adam Cole proves to me that he's one of the best out there. And you got to remember, he's the only graduate that made it this far from the CCW dojo.
Right.
He was trained by John Dahmer and DJ Hyde.
The only thing I'm worried about with Jungle Boy and a lot of the AEW originals is you have this influx of talent of not just that. Just in general, as far as all these WWE people, and you see directions of matches changing. A lot of them for the better, especially ones involving Mr. Danielson. But I'm wondering if there's going to be any resentment from these people. You're going to see some people complaining and then wanting to go to Vince. I heard
really?
Brian. No, I'm asking if you think it. I'm hearing with Brian Cage.
Well, Cage is done at least. I think for the year. I think he had knee surgery. Mm-hmm. So I think he's done. Melissa Santos went on Twitter and basically ranted and raved about that. And I'll get to her a bit because she is going to be your ring announcer for the Knockouts Knockdown coming up.
Right.
She needs to shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Let him talk for himself. Yeah, she's pretty. That's what she is. She's a wrestler's wife. Don't be Kurt Warner's wife.
Who are we speaking about now?
Brian Cage.
Okay.
She's a wrestler's wife. Remember, and I'll do a football analogy. Remember when Kurt Warner was playing and his wife was crying and complaining?
Yeah.
Kind of like that.
Oh, kind of like Cody Rhodes' wife, who happens to have the same exact title with their company that Stephanie has with McMahonland.
And they have a reality show. Whoopee.
Well, I want to get to that because, I don't know.
I haven't watched episode 1 yet.
Alright, I'll talk to you a few things about that then. Because I was pleasantly surprised with it. And when we get to the end of this, I'm going to allude to something with the reality show, which I thought AEW did was very clever. But go ahead.
What'd you think of the Super Elite Danielson segment?
Kenny Noble.
Yeah, I saw that.
Kenny Noble.
That's going to be chanted anywhere they go now.
Oh, yeah.
That was fucking great.
Yep.
What'd you think of Andrade challenging for the AAA tag titles with Luchas? Who's going to join Andrade? Somebody from AAA?
Well, who knows?
Laredo Kid? I know he's in Impact.
I don't know.
It's a revolving door right there.
It's Andrade. Who gives a shit, really? I'm sorry.
He's another one people are complaining they're not giving enough time to.
Yeah, well, I think they've given him too much time to talk, which...
He can't talk.
Yeah.
His English is not there yet.
Kind of like El Jefe and MLW, which we'll talk about later.
What do you think of the Dante Martin, Matt Sydal versus Cody and Lee Johnson match?
That was outstanding.
Dante?
I am a fan of Dante Martin.
He's 18, 19? He's only 20, man?
Yeah, he's
a fucking phenom.
Yeah.
And that's his brother in Top Flight, right?
Okay, my only gripe, let him win on the real TV shows, okay?
Instead of Dark.
A lot of these guys, they say, oh, it's like him and like Red Velvet. They say, oh, they have a record of 15-1 and all that.
Yeah, because it shows that nobody watches because nobody watches the YouTube shit.
Well, I mean, whoa, hold up. Well, yeah, that's true. Look at our show.
Yeah.
But I mean,
yeah.
But I mean, no, you're right. Though. I mean, it's like they don't have the YouTube thing isn't enough exposure. It works for NWA or MLW, but for something that is supposed to be competing with Vince, owned by a billionaire, no.
Yeah. What do you think of the slow heel turn? I'm going to say this right again. Slow heel turn of Cody Rhodes. It's a very slow heel turn.
I think it's up and coming. Now, let me ask you this: why do you think that is?
Because of the Black Mist.
Okay, but I mean, why? Never mind that. Why do you think people are booing him? Though there's been a lot of theories.
You give me that because I'm totally lost about that.
Few things. One, they just booked him against somebody who came off hot and is really popular, even though he's supposed to be a heel. You have that. Cornette thinks people are
tired of him.
Well, it's backlash against Brandy.
For Brandy? Against Brandy?
Yeah, they can't stand Brandy because he's
all over the place.
Yeah, and the reality show and all that stuff. And Arn even thought it was because he stepped away to do like the game shows and stuff, and it's like and he mentioned like he gave like John Cena as an example, like these people that go away to movies and stuff. It's like fans don't want to become fans of them again because they're afraid they'll go away and do another movie or something.
Part-timer, yeah. Because remember, he did a few episodes of Arrow.
Right.
And he's done other TV shows.
Well, I mean, they're friends with
friends with Steve Amell, who was there.
Amell, and they have the Heels show, and then plus, I think he has a relationship with Knocking Part Wines. It's either his company or he's an investor or something?
I think he's an investor, yeah.
So, I mean, they have, a little bit of the bubbly.
Isn't he an investor of that cigar company that Kazarian has?
That I didn't know.
I think he is, yeah. Then we have the promo that made me go, what? The Glock comment from Arn Anderson and some of the video stuff that somebody put up on him doing a spine buster from Fire Pro and him pulling out a gun just shooting the guy.
Right. Well, they actually had one shirt that says you can't have NRA without Arn. Arn, yeah.
What'd you think of the promo?
For the most part, I thought it was good.
He is old school, isn't he?
He's old school, but here's the thing. I got the point. Point is, he was a horseman and he had a killer instinct. Yeah. And
he was my favorite horseman.
But you know what? He basically drove around the Beltway 30 miles to get to somewhere that was only 4 miles away.
Yeah.
He went really far. That was a stretch to get to that point.
Yeah. But I thought he went too far with the gun comment because I think I hate to say the word triggered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, I hate that you did it.
Yeah, but you know that's going to have negative response from people.
Yeah, and we might hear the network being Cyrus the Virus again.
Yeah, Cyrus the Virus.
The network's not happy.
They got him for smoking. Why not guns?
For smoking, for pizza, for,
I heard, Domino's gave him shit. The network didn't.
Right, well, sponsors, yeah.
Yeah. Next was the match. I like the face team. Why they keep anyone up against a job squad was Mox, Kingston, and Allen versus Bear Country and Anthony Green. Didn't care.
Right.
It was a squash match. We know it was a squash match because Bear Country is regulated dark. Mm-hmm. And they usually lose in dark a lot, don't they?
Right.
What did you think of it?
Pretty much the same. It was just like you said, it was a squash match to keep Moxley and Kingston relevant.
And Darby. And we'll talk about Darby later.
Right.
The Hardy Family Office versus Orange and Dark Order, which was... Where was Dynamite at?
I forget. Where was it?
Rochester, New York.
Oh, yeah, Rochester, New York. Right.
Who is from Rochester?
Oh, yeah.
They put the Dark Order super over on this because it is Brody's hometown. And Negative One was there. Yeah. And what did you think of Amanda coming out and Negative One throwing the papers at
That was funny.
That was hilarious. They love that kid so much.
Oh, yeah.
They love that kid so much. But what'd you think of the match as a whole? Even though you hate Orange Cassidy.
Yeah.
I don't think you're a big Dark Order fan either.
They have their moments each way for me. I don't know. I mean, I thought it was touching with that. I thought the fact that they had that big push, unfortunately, because of Brody's death. But
yeah,
I thought they kind of squandered that somewhat. And
because that night Dark Order couldn't lose, the night of the tribute show, and the night of the last Dynamite, that Dark Order couldn't lose because that's Brody. And seeing the Brody signs all over the place was kind of heart touching, you know.
Right.
Leo Rush being all elite. The man who retired, the man of the hour, kept on retiring. Now he's back.
Yeah. Well,
is he going to retire again?
I don't know.
NCW's own Leo Rush.
Right, and if I'm not mistaken, I think he's supposed to be going to that New Japan show we're going.
Yes, he is. I think so too. The FTR segment, which looks like they're gearing them towards the luchas.
Right.
I would love to see that.
Yeah, I would too.
Then we got the Dan Lambert Man of the Year promo, which Ethan Page one string everything was one long sentence to give the crowd the chance to say what.
Yeah.
You notice that?
Mm-hmm.
What did you think of it? And Lambert's great.
Lambert is amazing.
Lambert is an amazing talker.
Right.
And he basically echoes the old man thoughts of mine in your brain.
Yeah, I mean, Jim Cornette even jokes, he said, playing the part of Jim Cornette is...
Yeah.
He said that himself, so I mean, yeah.
Then we had Penelope Ford and the Bunny versus Anna Jay and Tay Conti. The winner, every standing erect man in the audience.
Pretty much. My goodness. Those four, God bless them. I mean,
Bunny's put the work in. Bunny has put the work in.
Bunny's a heel, but if you ever watch her show on YouTube, she's such a sweetheart. She is...
Oh, the Oreo cookie thing with Abaddon was hilarious.
Well, I mean, they showed... The last episode I saw, they showed part of it. First part was when they were in New York. Then they flew to a convention in L.A. It was her, Rebel, Penelope Ford, and Allison Kay in a homeroom together, going out shopping, they're going out eating, and...
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
When she was Allie in Impact, do you know her and Rosemary had a YouTube channel together called Demon Buddy?
No, I don't remember that.
He actually did the parallel universe thing where they run into Courtney Rush, and Allie's Cherry Bomb personalities.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, exploring the multiverse, they said. And it was actually entertaining. It was actually very entertaining because it came out of both their heads. And Allison Kay was all over this thing.
Kip Sabian, you were lucky.
That's Penelope Ford.
I know, well, yeah, Penelope Ford was there too, but then...
Now we're going to get to the other promo of the night, the promo of the night, the heel of the business, MJF.
Yeah.
When he said Darby Allin about what he said about his uncle, he said the wrong one died, I was like, oh my fucking God. Just when you think he couldn't dig deep enough.
But again, as I said with the Pillman thing, I mean, yeah. You and other marks were acting like, oh, he's going too far. No, he didn't. They're working together on this shit.
Yeah.
I mean, they're probably working together. It's like, okay, something personal that, I can say that people feel sorry for anything. And he's like, yeah, tell him about my uncle died. Tell him about that. Tell him,
they had the green lit, and Tony probably signed off on it.
I mean, it was like that promo years ago where the feud with Undertaker and CM Punk. Where CM Punk had to ask permission about,
certain things.
Yeah, including and I think went to Paul Bearer's family, yeah.
Even AJ, the whole going, can we talk about for his wife, can we talk about this and this and this,
right.
Because they went after his wife. I forgot her name. My name blanked out on me for a second. I forgot her wife's name.
Yeah.
Then we get to the title match, which surprised the fuck out of me. Miro losing the TNT title to Sammy Guevara. Great match.
Great match. I would like to see Miro. I like Miro as a champion, but
I think they're going to move him up.
Yeah, I like Sammy, but this is getting to what I was alluding to with the reality show. What they did at the very end of that to get you to watch the reality show, it's like, stay tuned. We're going to have another interview. Talk to Sammy during a break of the reality show.
Yeah. Yeah, and they talked to him in Fuego del Sol.
Well, he talked to Fuego del Sol, and he announced that his challenger next week on Dynamite will be
The man
Mr. Bobby Fish.
You saw at MLW.
Right. And also, they were confronted by America's Top Team.
Ooh, at the MLW show?
No. In this little announcing break.
Yeah.
Basically, it looks like either Scorpio Sky or Karate Man's going to challenge him for...
After the Bobby Fish thing. After
Yes.
Bobby Fish, yes.
Yes.
Which...
And, I mean, they didn't say anything officially, but basically saying it's like, you're already giving, it's like, enjoy the belt, you just got it, you're already challenging people from other companies when you should be challenging the best in this company.
When Cody basically opened the door for all the indie guys, you got Warhorse, you had Kingston before he got signed and all that. I think they're doing the same thing with Sammy.
Right.
And bringing Bobby Fish, and one of my favorite tag teams was Red Dragon, him and Kyle O'Reilly.
Right.
In Ring of Honor, even when they were undisputed. And didn't you say they were chanting undisputed at the MLW show?
Yes, they were.
Bobby Fish is a killer.
He's a killer, and I forgot how much of a killer he was. And when we get to the MLW, when we get to MLW, I'm going to talk about that.
I'm going to go quickly to the Impact notes because I did watch Impact. Ray.
Well, before we go to that, I want to talk about the reality show because there are a few.
Yeah, you saw it. I didn't.
Basically, they talked about a few things. This was set like just as Brandy was pregnant, and they were and Cody was talking about how he's going to juggle responsibilities with the company and being a father, and how basically he was nervous, and Brandy thought she had everything figured out because, get this, they actually had a bridal shower with both families, and Cody's mother and Brandy's mother were both asking, okay, how are you going to handle sleep? He said, I got that figured out. I hired a sleeping coach for my baby. She hired someone to train the baby to not make as much noise.
Yeah, it's called Benadryl.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's what I was thinking. It sounded pretty scary or whatever.
What did Chris Titus say in his stand-up? $8 babysitter, Benadryl.
And they had a few other things, too. We found out that Brandy has heat with Cody and Dustin's sister.
Oh, I forgot they had... I remember when they first had the Dusty Classic, and before Cody left and Dustin left, I remember his sisters were in the ring. I forgot they had sisters.
Well, you want to know why there was heat?
Why?
They thought it was disrespectful for Brandy to call herself Brandy Rhodes shortly after they married. Because
Cody couldn't use it because of...
They said it was well, it wasn't that. They thought it was too soon after Dusty had died. And she was like, you hadn't been in the family long enough to do that. And basically, they're not saying it, but I think basically the Rhodes family doesn't like Brandy. Or some members of the Rhodes family doesn't like Brandy.
They make her the black sheep of the family, basically?
I think the color of the sheep has something to do with that, yes.
Well, I remember when I hate to get political here, when the march in Charlottesville happened, they basically put a picture up of their wedding day saying, hey, I love Trump's hate.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, so, clear words here.
Right. You had a few things going on with that, too. You also had, Red Velvet and Jade Cargill, when they had the beginning of their feud. You remember, just before Brandy had the baby, they had the thing where Red Velvet was standing in for Brandy in the match.
How far behind the scenes do they go?
Probably about
almost like Total Divas or Total Bellas?
Yeah, something like that.
Okay.
But what had happened was Red Velvet was scared to have another match with Jade Cargill because in that promo, Cargill slapped Red Velvet, slapped her real hard, and Red Velvet was she said she couldn't trust her in the ring or anything.
Okay.
So Brandy actually was doing like a wine tasting for Knocking Point, and she actually invited Cargill and Red Velvet to talk things out over a few glasses.
The Obama beer thing?
Pretty much, the beer summit. This time it was wine.
Wine, yeah. Women or wine,
right. Yeah. And one other thing I thought was interesting, too, that is actually related to wrestling. I didn't know that Ricky Stark had a broken neck.
Is that why he hasn't been wrestling?
Yes. He
Wow.
said, and he was, I mean, it was shortly after he had the FTW championship. He basically wanted to keep him working as a
Commentator,
as a commentator and all this, and he was, they were kind of like, Ricky was like, well, I don't know if I can do it, and Cody's like, well, we're going to find out. If you can't, then we'll take the mic away from you, so do a good job. And
yeah,
he did, which...
Did they show a lot of Tony Khan in this, too?
They showed a little bit. They had them talking in meetings and stuff like that, but not a whole lot.
Well, especially these quote-unquote reality shows, which are highly suspect sometimes. The camera's supposed to be following them everywhere.
Well, yeah, they focused more on a lot on Brandy's family. Apparently, her mother's really, was really strict with her as a kid, and then Cody was basically saying in a nice way that Brandy's a pain in the ass by basically saying she has a stubborn streak. I don't know if it's because of the racism or the sexism, but she, she's feisty. So. Well,
I remember when Cody, for that brief stint, Cody and Brandy were in Impact when they were TNA, and Brandy would team up with Moose.
Right.
They called her Little Moose.
And
yeah, they did like mixed tags together, and they looked like they were getting ready to get a feud between Moose and Cody before Cody left.
Right.
And I think he went to Ring of Honor at the time.
Yeah. And of course, you probably remember before AEW was formed, when they were doing the All In and everything, and when they were in the NWA, the reason you have Camille in the NWA was because of Brandy.
Why's that?
Well, they had the feud between Cody Rhodes and Nick Aldis for the NWA belt, and Brandy would interfere a lot in the matches. So Aldis decided, okay, well, I'm going to get another girl to even things out, and then that's when he called up Camille.
Actually, that's a blessing then.
Yeah, definitely.
Because we got her with what's she call that belt now? The Mildred,
the Burke,
the Mildred Burke.
Yeah.
Now I want to get to Impact.
Of course.
And did I send you the picture of Sami Callihan's foot?
Yes.
Your reaction?
Sucks to be his foot.
He's out for the rest of the year. Well, he has Jessica Havoc as a nursemaid.
God bless.
They're engaged to be married. They're living together. So, apparently they showed him getting on the ambulance. I think it was because of a backstage segment brawl with Big Cat, Morrissey, and Moose. I think accidents do happen. I think this is his first major injury outside of being in CZW.
Yeah.
Because remember, that Cage of Death match he has a zipper in the back of his neck because of that.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. With the late Danny Havoc. The first match was Alex Zane, who we're going to see at the New Japan show, against Laredo Kid versus Trey Miguel. They're having a tournament for the vacant X Division title.
Okay.
And Trey Miguel won that match. It was a very good match, by the way. And then they had the Drama King. I forgot his real name. They had to do a segment I almost fell asleep on.
Former Aiden English, yeah.
English. Then we had a winner to face Decay at the Knockdown streaming special. You had Madison Rain and the former Emma to Neil Dashwood, now called The Influence. With Caleb with a K, with Rachel Eller and Jordan Grace. Who would you like to see win that match?
I don't care. I don't want the Impact.
The Influence one is going to be against Decay.
Okay.
Then we had a segment with Christopher Daniels. Daniels looks like he's in, and they even had a match with Daniels, and he did shit we haven't seen him do in years.
Right.
He was doing the Raven and moonsaults. He was doing the best moonsault ever. You can't tell this man's 50 years old.
Okay.
Then we had what I initially thought was the best thing in the world was the Deanna Mickey James barn fight. What was your reaction?
Well, I think you had an apt description of it when we spoke about it off the air. It was a wet t-shirt contest.
It turned into a wet t-shirt contest.
It was everything bad about the Ultimate Deletion and any other outdoor cinematic match, combined with a typical Attitude Era women.
Cat fight.
catfight lingerie.
Or anything from, I'll even go back to the 80s, Dynasty, that big cat fight they had.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember that because I'm old enough.
Right.
It was hokey. It was bad. It made... I know they're trying to promote for Bound for Glory, Deanna and Mickey James.
Right.
But that's not the way to build things.
It was, yeah, I mean...
And you saw Deanna on the NWA pay-per-view. You thought she was a really good worker.
Yeah.
For a woman who's in her mid-20s.
Mm-hmm.
She's around the same age as MJF. I think she's the best female heel in the business right now.
Right.
Then we had, and I can't believe they let him do a singles match, Madman Fulton versus Christopher Daniels, which Daniels won with Angel's Wings. He got Fulton up, and Fulton's a beast.
Right.
How many big guys can you count in Moose, Morrissey, and Fulton? That's it. And if they get the two other names we've been talking about, there's going to be 5 names there. And hopefully, after that, the last Swingers Palace segment. Because Swinger tried to call D'Amore into the segment and said, "Well, you're going to Sam's Town. I can't let you have this pay-per-view in Sam's Town. Either that, we're going over there." And D'Amore says, "I hope you have a Nevada gambling license. We don't have a the kayfabe yet. We don't even have a Tennessee gambling license."
Easy for you to say.
And D'Amore shut them down. So we don't know. Swinger is going to probably go back into the ring and be bullshit. We had Violent by Design, Rhino, and the return of a former WWE Raw Tag Team Champion. Heath Slater came back.
Oh, okay. How many kids does he have now?
I don't know. He's still got... Matter of fact, his shirt is "I have kids."
Oh, jeez.
Well, in all reality, I think he has like 2 kids. They did an interesting thing where you don't know where Rhino, his loyalties are, because Eric Young kept on getting in his face saying, do the right thing.
Right.
And he just stepped out of the ring and just left Slater by himself. Mm-hmm. We don't know, and that's probably a build-up for Bound for Glory.
Right.
Then I found out they're going to have a digital media championship. Did you hear about this?
Yes.
Did you hear it's going to be intergender?
Yes.
What do you think?
There are a lot of indies that have, instead of the TV titles, they try to be more,
like a Zack Ryder
contemporary. They have like an internet championship. I mean, what culture / Defiant Wrestling had that?
Oh well, look at the Jam That Champion thing from Wrestle Talk. That's an internet title, basically.
Well, I mean, but that's different. They're not actual wrestlers, so that's just YouTube hosts just doing. It's just a gimmick for them.
Yeah, and
like to get Mylon, except they have basically 200,000 viewers, compared to our 8, so.
And they have Zack Ryder started that whole thing with his internet title.
Yeah.
But you think it's a good thing or a bad thing? Or is it a step forward?
I'm going to sound like Cornette. I mean, it's okay to have... Well, I mean, they have a lot of damn belts in that company, though.
They have an X Division, knockout tag title, and the world title. That's it.
Okay, well, that's plenty right there. I mean... Okay.
They don't have a big roster. They do not have a big roster.
I mean, why do they have an X Division, though? I mean, that's...
They need a secondary title.
It is a secondary title.
That is an X Division. Well, a lot of X... Remember, Abyss was an X Division champion at one time.
Yeah.
And remember, they always say it's not about weight limits, it's about no limits. Because even PCO was X Division champion when he was there. And he's not a super heavy, he's a super heavyweight.
Yeah.
Then they had the street fight match between Eddie Edwards and W. Morrissey. Did you hear anything about this match at all?
No.
Alicia Edwards came in and after the match, tried to get them off of Eddie because Moose ran in. And they tried to Pillmanize Eddie's neck. Wow. They put the chair right here and they rammed him right into the ring post. Mm. And they kept on working on his head and neck so he can, quote unquote, join Sammy. Uh-huh. But it looks like with Sammy gone for a while and they're going to do the thing with Eddie, I think they're going to team up Morrissey and Moose to go after the tag titles and go after the Good Brothers.
I see.
Which I know you don't care. Yeah. I really don't care because it's the Good Brothers.
Yeah, exactly.
We got to the draft already and I already wrote everything down.
Yeah.
Then in Rampage, Rampage was really good, except the reverse booking, which the first match should have been last.
Right.
What did you think of the American Dragon versus Nick Jackson?
Oh, it was a really good match. And
It proved that Nick Jackson can work singles match.
Right, and I think also it's like what we said with the Omega match from last week. It's the dance partner. Bryan Danielson, I think, is calling
the worst.
match.
He is the best worker in that business right now. You think so?
Yeah. No doubt. And, I mean, he's actually teaching those. And I'll give him credit because that was one of the big things about the Young Bucks. They thought they knew everything. They wrote a book saying how
they're killing business.
Right. And Daniel Bryan's like, maybe that might be why Khan is in creative control, because he's like saying, okay,
he took away the toys.
Yeah, and I have these millionaires who are successful millionaires. They're big names. They're going to make us big ratings. I mean, plus I think also with Danielson too is the fact that Danielson wanted to wrestle in New Japan, and I think he wants to have that relationship with New Japan. Yeah. So he can bring some of their guys over. It's like, you know.
Well, again, I've been hearing rumblings from Japan, and once the protocols and the quarantine's over, we're going to eventually see him against Zack Sabre Jr., which will be a technical masterpiece.
Yeah.
Because Sabre can fucking work. And by the way, he is the point leader in the A block of the G1.
Okay.
Tied with Great O'Khan, which you got to see Great O'Khan. He's this big, like 7 foot guy who does a Mongolian gimmick.
Okay.
The next match I didn't care about, even though Thunder Rosa was in it. It was Nyla Rose versus Jade Cargill versus Thunder Rosa. I hated the finish with the 18 chair shots and just pin her. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, I thought it was a weak finish, but I mean, I was actually looking forward to that match, and
because we're both big fans of Rosa.
Oh yeah. And somebody that Jade Cargill compared to Thunder Rosa.
She's like a Black China. She looks like China built.
I mean, somebody that big, that much size difference doesn't need a gazillion chairs. That's like getting like a howitzer to shoot at a fly flying around the room. All you do is you have like a big hole.
It's like what was that, an Allstate commercial with Clay Matthews?
Yeah, pretty much.
I'm still going for the fly. But, they kept on saying it's triple threat, no DQ. No shit, triple threats are usually no DQ, no count out anywhere, any promotion.
And as Jim Cornette called it, lazy booking. So it's like...
Well, Cargill's, I think they're trying to line up Cargill maybe against Baker down the road.
Yeah. I mean, there are a lot of people who are hard on Cargill. I like her, actually. I
wasn't impressed with that Shaquille O'Neal match.
Huh?
I wasn't impressed with her with that Shaquille O'Neal match.
I was more impressed with Shaquille in that match.
Yes, I was too, yeah. But she needs to be some more time in the oven cooking.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
She's great. Yeah, I agree.
Green
she needs
as fuck.
more
She's
experience.
green as fuck, yeah.
And a lot of it might have to do with what I just mentioned during that reality show. Because if you remember, Red Velvet was in that match.
Mm-hmm.
Red Velvet is probably still weary of her, and even got to the point where Brandy Rhodes even took Cargill aside and said, "Look, ease up."
You think she's the next Nia Jax then?
Well, I think I don't know if she isn't there yet, but I think they...
Because of the experience, she's actually going to hurt somebody?
Well, based on the conversation that Brandy had with her, I think she wanted to prevent that. She was afraid that she might do that.
Actually, really legit hurt people.
Her words were, it's like, I wanted this women's division to be the best, and in order for it to be the best, I want us to trust each other. I want our women to trust each other so they can have good matches that do a good job. And if we can't trust each other, we're going to have problems. Yeah,
well, I'll even go back to when the whole Sexy Star incident with Rosemary. When Rosemary broke kayfabe, her character, and basically wrote a whole soliloquy on Twitter saying, this is a dance, and you got to trust your dance partner.
Right.
And you got to trust the person with your body.
Mm-hmm.
Because Sexy Star went into business for herself.
Yeah.
And by the way, when was the last time you saw her? She's been banned everywhere.
Yeah, big time.
Because she legit tried to hurt people. Unlike Nia Jax, who's unintentionally hurting people and still has a job.
Right.
Well, maybe we'll talk about that in a little bit, about the whole Shayna Baszler thing. What did you think of this Malachi Black promo? A typical Black promo?
Yeah. It was good. I mean, there are like some people you want to see have creative control, some that you don't. Black, you definitely do.
With that video he did before he joined the roster, I think that was all out of his head.
Yeah.
About him being in prison or him being in an insane asylum.
I think that was just leftover stuff that he was going to do at WWE.
Yeah. Oh, the Dark Father stuff?
Right.
Yeah. Then we get to the match. Oh, I want to see your facial reaction to this. Jack Evans versus Orange Cassidy. Hair versus hair.
Now,
Somebody call Barbara on somebody.
that,
As much as you hate pockets.
well, from the beginning, you had Mushmouth interview those two backstage.
Oh, yeah.
Okay?
It's time for the main event.
Right. And then you had Matt Hardy doing the typical Matt Hardy heel manager promo kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then...
But Evans looked like he did not want to be there at all.
He was basically, doing the talking for him. And I was like, I don't want him, in this. And I was curious to see what Pockets would do. I was expecting him not to say anything at all, because he's done that before. But then they had him talk, he's like, okay, what's this all about? I mean,
what's this match about? Like they just woke him up.
It's like what we say about Vince Pockets. Don't you watch your own fucking show?
Yeah.
That kind of shit in wrestling pisses me off. When you have, like, the stupid backstage segments where everybody on TV and in the arena overhears, it's like, well, wait till you see the joke that we pull on Kevin Owens as soon as he comes out. Shh. Don't tell anybody.
What do you think?
But everybody else knows except... I mean, it's so stupid,
Going back to Dynamite, what did you think of Punk's commentary?
He's okay.
He's no Jericho? Jericho turns it up to 11.
Jericho's too hyper. He's like you sometimes. But it's like,
his voice goes over the top.
Yeah.
Where Punk...
I'll tell you who I really liked in commentary. I like Ricky Starks. I think he should be a permanent...
Taz is great.
Taz is great also. Well, Taz and Excalibur have had good chemistry during the Dark and the,
Well, remember when Heyman did the famous his own pipe bomb 2002? He says, he was a killer, now he's a commentator, not even a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, look how much times have changed.
Right.
He is a good commentator. He's learned. From when he was in TNA, he was the color guy.
And I don't think he was that bad in WWE. The only difference, and I don't think it was his fault, it was just how WWE was coaching him.
Vince yelling in his ear the entire time.
Yeah, they made him like Lawler, where he's telling dad jokes and all, too. So.
And when he was in TNA, he was pretty good. Yeah. And when he was in here, he's pretty good. I mean...
here they're letting him be more like himself. Mm-hmm. He still cracks the jokes and all, but he's more serious. He's like the ECW Taz, like 20 years later, how you would expect him, a wrestler 20, 30 years later, to be the same person, but just too old to do the physical stuff.
Yeah.
But he has the same demeanor as the asshole ECW Taz.
Well, do you want to get to the show we're going to upcoming soon? Yeah,
and this will be also I'm going to amend this to my Get Off My Lawn with that.
That's going to be the, yeah, that should have been night 1, night 2.
Right. What we're referring to, folks, in Philadelphia on October 16th and 17th, New Japan, which was originally just the USA territory for it, but now it's the main New Japan because of COVID restrictions, are having a 2-day show called New Japan Showdown on Saturday the 16th, Sunday the 17th. And when I left the MLW taping, I found a flyer for this card on my windshield before I left. And I was very upset that they had what they list as a special attraction for the 17th. Chris and I have tickets for the Saturday show, the 16th.
Yep.
It is a Philly street fight between the King of the Monsters, Suzuki, okay, Lance Archer. That's what I'm calling Suzuki's store right now. I'm calling it Minoru Suzuki Final Wars, okay? Because
He's the king of kaiju?
yeah, he's going around the world fighting different monsters in different places. Yeah.
And laughing at him as he's going.
Right. Yeah, he's going to stomp on Independence Hall and the Liberty Bell, and probably a few drunks stumbling out of South Street.
Oh,
anyway,
my God. Oh,
anyway,
I'm in tears now. Thank you.
It's those two against... Oh, I'm really going to have you in tears in a minute. Kenny Kingston.
Eddie Kingston.
Yeah, Moxley. No, Kitty, you can't have my chicken bye-bye. Those four will be going against each other on the 17th. The night we're not going there. So, fuck you, New Japan, get off my lawn.
Well, the thing is, this is for TV. It's going to be for their TV show.
Both nights are for TV, though.
Both nights are for TV. That means if in case we miss it, we'll still be able to watch it.
It'll be on New Japan Strong, which is on the Fight Network, which I had to start watching some episodes.
Yes, and get acquainted with it.
Yeah. I mean, I paid $6 a week on worse things, so, you know.
Night one, the main event's going to be Suzuki versus the Dirty Daddy himself, Chris Dickinson, who is also in Ring of Honor.
Okay.
This is the man, and I think I told you about this the last episode, was in a little bit of hot water about him and Kimberly. And there was I think it was Beyond Wrestling, Pro Wrestling up in Rhode Island. I think it was Rhode Island, somewhere in New England, and they had an intergender match where it's called a Peruso bomb. It's almost like a razor's edge. He threw Kimberly off of him.
Yeah.
Her head, he see it snap on the bottom turnbuckle.
Oh.
Yeah.
Ow, ow, ow.
And when she tried to get up, she took a header chair shot from Dickinson. Yeah. It's a wonder she's still walking. She did. He got a lot of fucking heat from everywhere about that.
Deservedly so.
And she did do a video saying, "Hey, accidents happen. I'm all okay. Just drop it."
Okay.
And she's still working to this day. She's working with Impact right now. So,
all right.
Which is. Then I hope Suzuki puts him in knots.
He will, and he'll be having fun doing it, I'm sure.
And from what I'm hearing, TJP, let me see if I can find it. TJP is turning it up with Ospreay. I forget against who, but there's a bunch of matches on there. And Alex Zane is going to be taking on Jay White. Jay White will be on night one. So I'm thinking those people who are there for night two, they're going to be there the entire weekend. They're probably going to do meet and greets. We'll probably see Moxley. We'll probably see Kingston.
And you'll probably have like some feuds and some brawls, referees breaking shit up to lead into the next night. It kind of did that with MLW with a few teams and wrestlers.
It's basically like I said, we'll probably see. Why does that look like Jared?
Yeah.
But we'll probably see a bunch of people they're not even supposed to work on the card, probably work on the card the next night.
Right.
And I'm wondering if they'll do meet and greets. If they do meet and greets, especially with Suzuki, me and you're getting pictures. Because would you want a picture of him laughing at you?
Yeah. As long as he's not giving me a chop or
forearm
or whatever.
The forearms to the head. Again, if I can find it, I'll send you the match. It is Ishii versus Suzuki. They're spending 20 minutes just forearming each other in the head. And Suzuki's laughing at him the entire time.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he's crazy. He's a crazy... You remember how they call Terry Funk middle-aged and crazy? That's middle-aged and crazy.
Right.
This is the man who lost a hair match against Goto at Kingdom a couple years ago. Instead of getting the traditional getting knocked out and having their opponent shave him, he sat down and shaved his own head. He shaved his own... This is when he had that bullshit in the back. Yeah. And this is the man also that had, again, I repeat this, an intergender match with Asuka and beat the living shit out of her.
Right.
Again, they sign up for this shit. Do you want to talk about well, you haven't watched it yet. You watched some of it, FMW Dark Side.
Yes.
Well, you don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, we can talk about it. I mean, the only reason I didn't watch all of it is because Facebook was being Facebook, and they took the last 9 minutes out of it for some reason.
Yeah, I don't know.
I know that, but I mean...
like I said, I watched the whole thing. They talked to Hayabusa's daughter.
Yeah.
They talked to the ring announcer who inherited the company from Onita's daughter. I don't know how far deep you got into it, about when he took over the company.
Yeah, he took it into like comedy angles and all kinds of stuff, and they started losing attendance, and Onita wound up coming back as a heel to try to...
The Mr. Liar gimmick.
Right.
And from what I talked to people who've been around Onita, that's not a gimmick. He is a bullshitter among bullshitters. And the way he came across on this, he came like a humbled man.
Right.
But I think he's a con man in disguise.
Well, I mean, he also had Yakuza connections with that company.
Yeah, that's what blew my mind. I was like, was it Jericho? Mm-hmm. Or somebody said they threw people over the railing into the lap of the Yakuza, basically.
Right.
I was like, you don't do that. You're gonna find limbs missing off of you.
Yeah, I mean, they almost beat up Sabu. It was
Sabu, yeah. It was Sabu, yeah. And Mike Awesome, the late great Mike Awesome. What was your take on the whole thing that you saw?
It was interesting. There was a lot of stuff. I mean, I remember having tapes of that company and seeing a lot of stuff on, there's a lot.
It should have been a two-parter.
Yeah. I mean, but for what it was, basically they just wanted to get like the dirty behind-the-scenes stuff. Now, here's what I didn't catch. Who was Hayabusa's daughter blaming? Was it blaming Onita or the other guy?
Was not how Hayabusa's daughter. That was the ring announcer's daughter, because the part you didn't see, mm-hmm. the guy who inherited the company hung himself.
Oh. Because
he was skimming off of it and was taking from the company, and the boys weren't getting paid, and he took the dishonorable way out. Mm. And he honestly thinks Onita drove him to that. She honestly thinks that. They actually showed, and I can't believe they showed this, the accident that happened to Hayabusa, which broke his neck.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was supposed to be a line saw. You saw his foot slip on the rope, and he landed forehead first into the mat, which you saw his head go like this.
Right.
It goes back, and yes, I will. That's the Eternals, by the way.
Right.
But when should they show that?
Probably not. I mean, I don't know. I mean, they did it because a lot of people in this country didn't know about it. But I mean, if it would have happened in a mainstream WWE, that would have been like
Droz.
Well, yeah. I mean, it was more graphic than a Droz thing.
Yeah.
That would have been like the Owen Hart thing, probably.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. But they said Hayabusa, before he died, he was actually walking with the aid of crutches, but he was walking.
Right.
Because he was determined to get back on his feet. He wasn't going to get in the ring, but and he loved wrestling. He loved it so much, and basically that accident took everything he loved.
Well, I do remember Onita saying, he regretted picking Hayabusa to do a lot of the death matches because he thought that, looking back, he didn't think he was suitable for those kind of matches.
What did you think of the kinship between him and Terry Funk?
I thought it was interesting. I mean, he idolized Terry Funk, and Terry Funk mentored him when he came to Texas. And I thought it was interesting, too. They told a story about, was it Bill Watts, or which promoter was it? No, it was one of the Texas promoters, and it's like, Onita didn't, gave the old "it doesn't work for me, brother," and they beat the shit out of him for it.
Probably it was probably Joe Blanchard's promotion.
Yeah.
But what was it Southwest Wrestling? I think it was called.
Might have been.
Yeah, but I thought it was a good episode. I found out the upcoming episode. I forgot it was about. Shit, there's another individual. I have to look it up. But these dark sides, outside of Plane Ride from Hell, are just sad.
Yeah.
It's just sad. They're great, but they're sad. It's like watching What Ifs from Marvel. They're just sad.
Yeah.
And, they're going to do Johnny K-9. The next episode's going to be Johnny K-9, who I barely remember. Didn't he wear a do-rag to the ring?
Yeah, I don't remember too much about him either.
Me neither, and so it's going to be interesting.
And then they're going to do the XPW.
XPW probably right afterwards. I like what Sabu said about... They talked about the famous fire match. Or the infamous fire match.
Right.
When I first saw the footage of that on old school VHS tapes, they shouldn't have had that at all. And Sheik was left in the ring?
Right, yeah, they said the fire rose so much it was like they couldn't get him out.
It's weird he didn't get burned alive.
He did. He had like
Second or third degree burns?
Yeah, I think Onita said it was like 60% of his body was burned from that.
And that's probably what drove him to retirement. And what they didn't cover, and what Mick Foley didn't cover and Sabu didn't cover is, I found out these death matches, these barbed wire matches, were like almost every week.
Yeah. Oh, wow, yeah.
Yeah. And I'm surprised they didn't talk to, was it Sharkazuka, Kudo, or Combat Toyota, if they're still alive.
Right.
Because we don't know if they're alive or dead.
Right. I mean, it's like Mick Foley even said he felt bad. It was like, the
women are doing these matches too.
Yeah. With Toyota, he was like saying she was like crying, and it's like he said it was hard for him to go out.
Yeah. Because then they talk about the time bomb match, and I do remember that was the anniversary show in February, which that was the double main event. It was them and against Kudo and Combat.
Right.
Yeah, it was a lot of fuckery. It's a lot of fuckery in those matches, and it made. How much did they say Nita made? $2 million a year? Mm-hmm. Back then, it was a lot of money. It made you the number 3 promotion.
Right.
I'm surprised they didn't talk to any old ECW talent they had that's not working for Vince. Like maybe Sandman, or maybe even Dreamer. Even though Dreamer's in the hot water right now, and they probably have footage.
But I mean, they recorded all that before he got in the hot water, so I'm so surprised. I don't think he did a lot with them per se. I think they did it. The ECW guys later on, I think did stuff more with Wing and.
I remember, was it an IWA or FMW show? And Shawn Michaels showed up. It was a special show. Shawn Michaels showed up, and I remember Dreamer was with Francine, and Francine got her on the other. And this was called on mic. Got her on the other valet. I forgot against who, and she kept saying, "You go away, go away." Go, because she didn't know Japanese, and I would love to talk to Francine about that, among other things. But what do you think of the series so far?
Oh, I like it.
Even though for the grittiness and the bad of it,
Right.
But I don't know. I don't know. Well, it's. I don't know. It's an emotional roller coaster right now.
Right. I mean, Onita, and Terry Funk even said something about it. It's like, I'm sure he rolled over people, but, what promoter doesn't? He had to be Onita,
Yeah. That's why they didn't call the fucking production crew Sonny.
Yeah.
Because I have a Terry Funk story I can tell you on another show.
Right.
Where I met him at a meet and greet.
I think you told it already.
He called me Sonny.
Yeah.
Sonny? What about Sonny? But, I don't know. Anything else you want to cover, Son?
Like I said, I'll go more into detail with the matches themselves of this, but I had a great time going to MLW. I wish you would have went with me. It was...
Well, money's money, so, yeah.
But, it was a good time. There were all kinds of craziness. We saw Holly Dead for the first time, and basically bringing her pet Gimp Dax to the ring.
Well, you know why the girls are there now? Because of Prazak.
Right. Well, they're trying to develop a relationship with Shimmer. I get that.
And Shine.
Yeah.
Because I think they both work for Shine, too.
Gotcha. And you had other instances. Oh, and one thing I want to talk about, that they've been making a character. Now, on MLW Alpha, Fusion, they have, like, the weekly show there, which... Originally, they were supposed to have tapings in Philly, the show we went to in July. Mm-hmm. Then another set of tapings in Dallas. But then, because of the outbreak of COVID, they didn't have any matches there. So they basically spaced out the matches we did. They were just showing the matches that we saw now and incorporating it into Fightland and the current storyline.
When we talked about Ring of Honor earlier, from what I don't understand, because they're so scared of COVID, after the last pay-per-view, they're shutting down until the end of the year. They're not even going to have their Final Battle pay-per-view.
Oh, Ring of Honor is?
Yeah, Ring of Honor. That's what I've been hearing. I heard they're shutting down.
Right.
They did a bunch of tapings and take them to the end of the year.
But they showed. I'm guessing the matches that they showed previously were for other episodes of Fusion. But then they showed 5 that they actually announced for Fightland. And the reason we're not giving announcements for these folks is because Vice TV will be showing this on Thursday, April 7th, right after Dark Side of the Ring at 10 o'clock Eastern.
Yep.
So, among them will be the title match between Hammerstone and Jacob Fatu, the World Heavyweight Champion. And it'll be a title for title because Hammerstone's also putting up his National Openweight title.
I like open weight titles. I really do. Japan has one. It means any weight class can go after that title.
Mm-hmm. And one match that was really funny, I won't give the result of it, okay, but they had a thing where Cesar Duran from Lucha Underground, who allegedly had a skit where he killed Selena De La Renta to write her off of TV, is their main booker. And this man, I mean, the skits on TV aren't too bad because they're in his office and they have a good production and all that.
Is he still harassing Alicia Atout?
I didn't see him do it this time.
Okay.
But he basically has his own office set up in the 2300 arena or whatever, and he has different wrestlers coming up and asking for matches. Mm-hmm. He has such a thick accent, and I do not mean to offend anyone of Hispanic descent, but the man needs either an interpreter or he needs another mouthpiece.
Like Andrade.
I think he should just speak in Spanish, and he can still have the persona. He can still sit behind a desk and smoke those cigars and have the wads of bills and everything. Basically, I mean, they set him up to look like a Mexican drug cartel lord, okay? And
wasn't he doing it in Lucha Underground?
Yes.
Okay.
And pretty much, I mean, but on the mic in the ECW arena, you could hardly hear what he was saying. You couldn't understand what he was saying. And when he did say stuff, you couldn't take him seriously, you know? I mean,
it was like any indie show. You're there, you could barely hear the PA system, you know? It was like that when it was ECW.
But, I mean, he didn't have the... I mean, he had the accent, but he didn't... Usually when you have authority figures, especially if they're heel authority figures, they have a conviction in their voice. They sound threatening. They sound menacing. He did not sound like that. He sounded like just... I don't know, like a manager of like a restaurant yelling at his staff in the back. Or
like Gordon Ramsay in Spanish?
Not even that. I mean, Gordon Ramsay, I mean, he has inflection. He's not... I mean, you know when he's pissed off. But
the wet look is out.
Yeah, and what we mean by that, folks, is we're watching the New England Patriot porn between
Tom Brady and Bill Belichick.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's raining in New England right now.
Yes. Okay, but that's my only gripe with that company right now. But they had some interesting storylines. They have a team called 5150, which formerly known as LAX, managed by Conan.
Which they can't use LAX anymore? Probably because
I don't know, because they still have it on their graphics when they come out to the ring.
They still play the same music?
But, yeah.
Okay.
But, they've been feuding with Los Parks, which is basically the original La Parka and his two sons.
Yeah. And
who are currently the MLW Tag Team Champions. And originally, it was supposed to be a tag team title match, but instead they made it a trios match. And what happened with LAX, originally it was 2-on-2, it was the two La Parka sons against LAX. Then Homicide came out to join them, and then Daddy La Parka came out with his chair and started metal chairing the bejesus out of everyone in sight. And it wound up being a double DQ, and then they had like another little brawl to set up, I guess, future episodes of...
Well, he was the chairman of WCW.
And they're also doing something else with Duran, which is funny. And they're doing this with Tom Lawler. And Tom Lawler, he complained on the show. What they did, they actually reversed the orders of the Battle Riot and the match he had with Hammerstone. On TV, they presented it as if the Riot happened before the Hammerstone match, but not the other way around.
Wow.
And, yeah, it's fantasy points for me, too. I have Tampa Bay's kicker, and he kicked wide right. Good job, dumbass. But anyway, no, so Tom Lawler's complaining. He said, listen, I want a title shot. And he said, I was screwed out of the Battle Riot. I want a shot. And then Duran's like, okay, I'll give you a title shot. I'll give you a shot at Hammerstone's national openweight title, and Lawler's like, no, that's not what I want, but okay. So then he had that match. Then he actually went to Duran again. He said, listen, I got screwed in that Open Cup. I got screwed in against Hammerstone. I'm a former world champion, and I'm a UFC prize fighter, goddammit. Now give me a title shot that I deserve. And he's like, okay, I'll give you a title shot. A shot at the Caribbean title hold by King Muertes, which is going to be a casket match. Which, that was a perfect example of what I was talking about. You couldn't understand, it's like some people, some people cheered who understood it, but then other people were like, huh, what the hell did he say? They didn't even do the what chant. They were literally, but, so you have coming up on Vice, you will see King Muertes versus Tommy Lawler in a casket match, and that was pretty crazy.
We'll talk about it in the next show.
We'll talk about that in the next show. You have the match, as I mentioned, with Rhodes versus Hammers. Then you have a 12-man Survivor match, as they call it. And then...
Was the Von Erich boys there?
No, the Von Erichs were not there.
Okay.
They had like Richard Halliday, they had a Beastman, they had like a bunch of guys there. We'll go into that in more detail. And then they had a tag team match with the lovely Ashley Fox. Yum, yum. But anyway, and I think that was it as far as the matches actually for Fightland that they're going to show on Vice. So check that out. Oh, there is one match.
Bret Favre?
Yeah, in the commercial. There is one match I would recommend when they do air it on Vice or YouTube, and one that is already on YouTube, I highly recommend. I'm not going to give the results of this, I'll do this next week, but there is a match for the Cruiserweight title. A 4-way elimination style. Oh, no, actually this was not an elimination style, the Survivor match was. But anyway, it was from AAA, Aries and Artemis.
Yep.
Against, it's 4 ways. Those two challenging each other, and they both went up against the defending champion Myron Reed from Injustice, and ECW legend Tajiri.
Yoshihiro Tajiri.
And when that match comes out on TV, folks, I would highly recommend you watch.
Is he still, without spoiling it, is he still the buzzsaw that we remember?
Yes, he was.
And he's got to be our age?
Yeah. He looked a little older, but still, he could still do the kicks. He could still do...
Look at Father Time with Christopher Daniels.
Yeah, so. He did the kicks. He can still do the 360s. He can do the tarantula. He did that, and he even did his mist like he used to do with Eddie Guerrero.
Oh, one thing I want to mention, going back to...
What?
Go ahead. You want to finish that up? Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, I go on YouTube now. They have on MLW Fusion Alpha episode number 2. It's the episode that has Hammerstone versus Tom Lawler. But it also has a match between Aries and Artemis, which was the match of the night that Chris and I went to back in July. I highly recommend that.
Now, finishing off, going back to, or was it, Dynamite. Remember when he was Danielson in Ring of Honor and it was, I got till 5?
Yeah.
He didn't do that.
He did that. He did, what was that move, the cattle?
Mutilation. That's what made Nick Jackson tap.
Although a lot of people keep making big deals like, oh, he did that in Ring of Honor. I remember him doing that in WWE.
I don't remember that.
Not the cattle move, but the saying, I had till 5, Mr. Referee.
Yeah.
He did it mostly...
when he was heel.
Yeah, when he was the angry hippie Daniel Bryan. Yeah. It was, when he was calling everybody fickle. I miss that Daniel Bryan, actually.
Fickle. Yeah. But anything else you want to add, Son?
No, give your...
Christopher James Filato at Facebook and at C Filato on Twitter.
Alrighty. Alright, folks. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you next time.
See ya!
Stay safe and have a nice day, shitheads! What up?